Now at 9, police in Chanute, Kansas arrest a second suspect in the shooting death of a teenager. Plus, plans to bury a fallen Bonne Terre, Missouri officer in his hometown of Carthage. And some Southwest Missouri voters will decide on a proposed tax increase to help their fire department.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Dow Quick. Authorities have released the identity of a man shot by Joplin police over the weekend, and they filed charges against that man. 34-year-old Michael Yarga of Joplin is charged with third-degree assault and resisting arrest. The incident happened on Saturday. Police say an officer made contact with 3 people near 9th and Connor when one man ran and the officer chased after him. Authorities say Yarga stopped a few blocks away and assaulted the officer. A second officer then shot Yarga. The injured officer was treated and released. Yarga is still in the hospital. The Missouri Highway Patrol is investigating the shooting. A second person is arrested in connection with the shooting death of a 15-year-old Chanute, Kansas teen. Police were called to the 200 block of Walnut, where they found Nasha Gregory with a gunshot wound on March 13th. She died in a hospital. According to court documents, 20-year-old Mackenzie Steves of Topeka is now charged with endangering the welfare of a child, contributing to a child's misconduct, and interference with law enforcement in that case. Steves was arrested in Coffeyville. Steves' co-defendant, 19-year-old Trevin Hayes Smith, is already in custody, charged with involuntary manslaughter, aggravated child endangerment, contributed to a child's misconduct, and interference with law enforcement. Both will be in court this week for their first appearance. Police in Parsons, Kansas are searching for a suspect they say tried to kill a man. In a news release today, authorities announced they're looking for David Young III. They say Young got into a fight with Tyrone Mayweathers of Kansas City in front of a Parsons bar and shot Mayweathers. First responders found Mayweathers with multiple gunshot wounds, rushed him to the hospital where he's still receiving care. Young is wanted for attempted second-degree murder and criminal possession of a firearm by a felon. Police believe he's left the area. A Kansas City man has died from injuries suffered in a Joplin fire last week. Fire crews were called last Thursday to a fire at this old warehouse on the 1400 block of South Virginia. 2 people were taken to the hospital with burns. 50-year-old Aaron Simons has died from his injuries. The Joplin Fire Marshal has ruled the fire accidental due to occupants grinding metal near combustible materials. 2-vehicle crash in southern Oklahoma today has killed 6 teenage students. The Highway Patrol was unsure of the exact ages, but says all 6 victims were female. The students were in a car that collided with a semi-truck on U.S. Highway 377 near Tishomingo, Oklahoma. Tishomingo Public School Superintendent Bobby Waitman said in a Facebook post that the district had a great loss involving students from the district's high school and that, quote, "our hearts are broken." A Carl Junction woman has died from injuries suffered in a crash Sunday morning. Joplin police say the crash happened on State Highway 171 and North St. Louis Avenue. 48-year-old Rebecca McAllister was driving west when the vehicle left the road and struck a stoplight pole. McAllister died at a local hospital. Nick Kelly joins us now with a first look at the weather.
Another cloudy day, Dow, and we had some showers to contend with. Fortunately, not much in the way of thunderstorms. At least we're done with that part of the storm system, but didn't give us much wiggle room as far as temperatures go. 51 this morning and only a high of 60 degrees today at Joplin Regional. While again, we're dealing with the backside of the system now, still pulling in more moisture, working into our parts of southeast Kansas and northeast Oklahoma. Mainly rain, but as more colder air gets pulled in on the backside of this system during the overnight, I would not be surprised if a few spots had a few snowflakes try to mix in, but we're going to deal with mainly scattered showers and periods of drizzle tomorrow, Dow, with highs only in the lower 40s this go around. But this system will be on the way out. We'll break down when here in a bit.
The burial of an eastern Missouri police officer is planned for the Carthage area this coming weekend. Officer Lane Burns was killed last week in a shootout with a suspect in Bonne Terre, Missouri. Now his burial is scheduled for this coming Sunday in his hometown of Carthage. A funeral procession will travel through Carthage around 1 Sunday afternoon prior to burial at 2 p.m. at the Harvey Cemetery in Carthage. The 30-year-old officer was born in Carthage, was a graduate of the Carthage High School class of 2009. He leaves 2 children. You can find more information on the procession route through Carthage at KOAMnewsnow.com. Election Day is just 2 weeks away, and some voters will decide on a tax increase for Tri-Cities Fire Protection District. The district covers the Missouri towns of Alba, Purcell, Neck City, Costville, and Galesburg. Officials are asking for an additional tax levy of 30 cents to hire another full-time firefighter to cover 24-hour shifts for a total of 3. Currently, 15 volunteer firefighters also help the station.
It's very important out here in the rural. The ambulance sometimes can be 20 to 30 minutes before they get here. So it can be a life and death, change or a saving by the time they get out here. We're on scene, and, if it's a code, we're already doing CPR. So it can save lives by far.
This Saturday, the fire district is hosting an open house at Station 1 from 4 to 6 p.m. Some local elementary students today built a city of their own. 4th graders at Pittsburgh's Lakeside Elementary spent 3 months researching for their Just Imagine Kansas project. Students researched Kansas-based businesses to bring life to their new city. The teacher says it gives students a first-hand look at economics and local businesses.
That it does. It puts their hands on it. It makes it more real. I can stand in front of them and teach them supply and demand all day long, but when I'm putting it in their actual hands, they seem to click with it better.
Some local businesses donated products to the students to make their presentations more official, and the Chamber of Commerce hosted a ribbon cutting. Folks in Vernon County, Missouri tonight helped raise money for a local museum. The Vernon County Historical Society hosted its annual Night for the Museum Gala. It featured a meal, music from the Nevada High School Show Choir, and an auction of donated items. The money raised from the event will go to the Bushwhacker Museum in Nevada.
Feels great. Like I said, it's great being back doing this. So exciting, seeing all these people coming out, having fun, being safe, and sharing a good meal. And it's the camaraderie and the fellowship of a community that we've kind of lost the last couple years.
The theme for this year's gala was A League of Their Own, 1940s women's baseball. As part of that theme, the meal was based around ballpark foods. KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14 takes this time to honor another 4-state hero. Jewel Davis served in the U.S. Army in 1945 and 46. The Jasper, Missouri native was stationed in the Philippines, and we salute Private Jewel Davis, a 4-state hero. Nick is next with a complete look at the forecast. And later, the Pitt State Gorillas hit the field for their first spring practice of the season. We're going to hear from the team in sports.
Even though we didn't have quite an active day, we have the storm system still in place. So let's just go ahead and dive right in and see what the storm system did for at least today. In fact, over the past 36 hours, it only allowed us to go into the lower 60s yesterday afternoon, staying in the lower 50s throughout yesterday evening through this morning. A brief jump back near 60. Then we went chilly again, back into the 50s for the rest of the day, and certainly as we got this evening underway. Fortunately, though, that thin, weak boundary that passed on through that Doug pointed out the other night did fire off some scattered showers, but fortunately, not much in the way of thunderstorms. In fact, any thunderstorm chances were really prevalent southeast of the region, so we were able to dodge that today, but light rain this go around, better than the moderate to heavy rain we saw yesterday. But on top of yesterday's rain, another ½ an inch on the average. Again, that's just from today's rain alone, and it's still coming down, especially with the back edge of the system now rotating across our parts of Kansas and Oklahoma. But the radar network shows it's not terribly heavy, generally light rain, so this is what's going to be sticking around, not just for tonight, but for the next few days until the system can finally clear on out. 7th range line, we have some mist or drizzle coating the lens, but we're at 45 with the southwest wind at 10. It is making it feel like 40 though. So unfortunately, there is a bit of a bite to the air once again as everybody lifts back into the lower to middle 40s now. And we're going to continue to drop throughout the course of the night with maybe a few snowflakes trying to come in. But by far, the bigger story with this system is the severe threat that continues across parts of southern Alabama. We're dealing again with the backside of the system, the counterclockwise flow of the low, pulling in some colder air, setting us up for a cool few days. Then once this upper level low kicks out, that upper ridge out west will treat us to a drier, brighter, and warmer weekend, something we'll certainly savor once we get past this stubborn storm system. But again, as temperatures take a dip into the mid to upper 30s tonight and maybe a little colder air aloft, you can see how there were some hints of pink that the future track was trying to predict. Maybe a few spots with a snowflake or two trying to mix in, but this is not looking like a big deal. And mainly just drizzle to scattered showers, light side of scattered showers throughout the day tomorrow. 36 in the morning, 40 by noon, but the best we could do tomorrow around Joplin in particular is 42. Most of us in the lower 40s for tomorrow afternoon. Now we're going to continue with slight showers throughout Wednesday night, Thursday morning, maybe a few snowflakes mixing in as well. But then once we get past Thursday afternoon, this system is gone. Not much additional rainfall from here on out, maybe another 1/10 to half an inch. Again, that's all from just light showers. But here's the setup for the weekend. The Jets back on top. We're going to be mainly dry, maybe a stray shower to watch Saturday and Sunday morning, but that is a brighter setup that is going to treat us to a really good weekend around here. 42 tomorrow, 47 on Thursday, 61 on Friday, near 60 again on Saturday, Dow, and back into the 60s and 70s early next week.
60s and 70s early next week sounds pretty nice.
A good reward once we get the system out of here.
You bet. Thanks, Nick. People in southern Oklahoma and northern Texas are picking up the pieces after a tornado tore through their area last night. That storm system is now moving farther south and east, threatening the Gulf Coast. Reporter Hunter Davis has more from Crockett, Texas.
As I was peeking out through the backyard, you could see like the wind changing directions. It was surreal.
Survivors are telling their stories a day after a series of tornadoes hit north and central Texas and parts of Oklahoma. At least 20 tornadoes were reported, though the National Weather Service hasn't confirmed them all. But tornado watches continued in the area through Tuesday morning. The damage is widespread and intense. Hundreds of structures damaged or destroyed, and there were multiple injuries, mostly caused by flying objects as the winds kicked up.
Something hit him in the head, and something hit me in the back, and my TV flew off and hit my sister. The 3 grandkids, we had to search around to find those.
There was at least one death reported, a 73-year-old woman in Sherwood Shores, Texas. The impacts are also being felt in big cities like Houston, where some schools opened late and thousands were without power on Tuesday morning. And while residents assess the damage to their homes and businesses, officials are working to get more resources into the area.
As we progress through the repair stage of this damage, there are unmet needs. The state of Texas is going to step up and make sure that those needs are going to be met.
Meanwhile, folks here in Texas say they want to stay and rebuild, but the recovery effort could take years.
Their houses are ruined, people don't have roofs. It's very sad.
And this storm isn't done with the South just yet. It's moving into Louisiana and Mississippi on Tuesday, prompting flash flood warnings there. In Crockett, Texas, Hunter Davis, Fox Weather.
Coming up, day 2 of confirmation hearings for a Supreme Court nominee.
Supreme Court nominee Ketanji Brown Jackson faces her first round of questioning from senators. I'm Caroline Shively in Washington. I'll have details straight ahead.
The Senate Judiciary Committee today held its second day of hearings for Supreme Court nominee Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson. Judge Jackson answered questions from senators about her views on the legal system and some of the hot-button issues impacting our country politically. Reporter Caroline Shively has the latest from Washington.
In hours of testimony, today Judge Jackson gave senators a look at how she might handle cases if confirmed as a Supreme Court justice.
On the second day of her Supreme Court confirmation hearing, Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson took questions from senators about her judicial philosophy. Jackson said she follows a process when deciding cases to ensure she's impartial.
If it is a statute, for example, or a provision of the Constitution, I'm looking at the text. The adherence to text is a constraint on my authority.
Jackson spoke about her work as a federal public defender representing Guantanamo Bay detainees after 9/11, arguing accused terrorists are entitled to representation. Jackson also pushed back against attacks from Republicans that she was too lenient on sentencing for child pornography offenders.
As a mother and a judge who has had to deal with these cases, I was thinking that nothing could be further from the truth.
On hot-button issues like abortion, Jackson said Roe v. Wade and Planned Parenthood v. Casey are the settled law of the Supreme Court. She also said adding more seats to the Supreme Court is a question for Congress to decide. The top Republican on the committee asked her views on the Second Amendment.
The Supreme Court has established that the individual right to keep and bear arms is a fundamental right.
The White House says President Biden has asked for regular updates on Jackson's hearing. In Washington, Caroline Shively, Fox News.
Still ahead, casualties mount as the war in Ukraine continues.
The Pentagon is accusing Russia of committing war crimes as Russian forces continue to target civilians. I'm Jeff Paul in Lviv, Ukraine. I'll have the details coming up.
A Russian court has banned Facebook and Instagram, saying their parent company Meta engaged in extremist activity. The ban makes it illegal for Meta to do business or operate offices in Russia, but does not go after users. The use of Facebook and Instagram were already banned by the Russian government earlier this month. Civilian casualties are rising as the war rages in Ukraine. This comes as Biden administration officials have now determined Vladimir Putin's forces have committed war crimes since the invasion started. Reporter Jeff Paul has the latest from Lviv, Ukraine.
Officials at the Pentagon say they are confident Russian forces are committing war crimes as they continue to target major Ukrainian cities.
There's clear evidence that their military, their forces are conducting war crimes. I don't want to get ahead of the process, but clearly there will be consequences for that on the international scale.
The Ukrainian health minister confirmed today at least 10 healthcare facilities have been destroyed since the war began. Over the past several weeks, an art school and a maternity hospital were also targeted by Russian airstrikes. The UN says the civilian death toll in Ukraine surpassed 2,500 this week, though that figure may be higher. And the aid agency Mercy Corps says some towns in southern Ukraine don't have more than 3 or 4 days worth of food.
The shelling of hospitals, schools, apartment buildings and shelters. And all of it is intensifying.
The assessment from the Pentagon comes as President Biden leaves for the region later this week. The president will get a first-hand look at the massive humanitarian crisis sparked by Russia's invasion. More than 3.5 million refugees have now fled Ukraine, and the U.S. Embassy in Kyiv is now accusing Russian troops of forcibly deporting thousands of Ukrainian children to Russia.
It is time to stop the fighting now and give peace a chance.
Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky says he's open to holding direct talks with Russia's Vladimir Putin, saying that it is the only way to end this war in his country. In Lviv, Ukraine, Jeff Paul, Fox News.
Up next, going to learn how scientists found what they're calling a new form of ice and what it could mean for space travel. Scientists say they've discovered a new form of ice that could exist on a distant planet. A research team at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas made the discovery and shared their findings in a recently published study. They call the ice formation Ice 7T. It was discovered using high pressure on freezing water until it reached a tetragonal phase. That's when the frozen water molecules formed a powder-like collection of tiny crystals. The scientists say the conditions to create this ice would be hard to find on Earth's surface, but it could be seen on water-rich planets outside of our solar system. 30 more minutes of news, weather, and sports coming your way. A local theater teacher is receiving a national award for her work in the arts. Plus, some local Special Olympics athletes put their basketball skills to the test. Pittsburgh theater teacher is getting some national recognition for her work. Lola Wade teaches at St. Mary's Colgan High School and was named the 2022 recipient of National High School Heart of the Arts Award. This week, her students are performing Beauty and the Beast, and today, elementary students got a sneak peek of the show.
I just want them to succeed because really theater is a crossover, it's a crossover class because what they learn in theater and music and art, they can apply to any part of their life and anything they want to do.
Opening night for Beauty and the Beast is tomorrow, 7 p.m. There will be 2 additional shows on Saturday at 2 and at 7. The lights at Roller City Skate and Play in Joplin may have been out, but boy, the fun was still going on. The Skate Center hosted a spring break glow party. People were asked to wear glow-in-the-dark clothes and were given glow sticks to set the atmosphere.
We have several kids that come during the weekend, and this is like one of their favorite places to come. So I know that having an option to come during the week instead of just the weekend is really important for them as well.
Activities at today's event included skating, laser tag, and events at an indoor playground. Local athletes today showcased their basketball skills during an event hosted by Special Olympics Kansas. KOAM's Jalen Banks has more on how the event not only helps them brush up on basketball, but other skills as well.
The Pittsburgh Family YMCA is hosting a Special Olympics Basketball Skills Day. Athletes participated in 3 different events, including shooting, dribbling, and passing. Most importantly, it gives them the opportunity to interact with one another.
One of the great things, everybody thinks about the excitement of the competition, and that's all great and that's wonderful, but one of the things I like to watch is how everybody that doesn't necessarily get to see each other all the time, how those friendships start to form again, and how they're able to form new friendships with new people, and they have so much in common with each other.
This event allows the athletes to experience the thrill of making a basket, dribbling the ball well, and making a good pass, but also the chance to feel something more.
Participants, they learn confidence, they are able to be celebrated and included into their community. Inclusion is a big part of what Special Olympics does, and then of course you have the confidence that comes along with achievement.
Athletes we spoke with enjoyed the events and encouraged others to get involved.
My favorite activity was when we did speed dribbling because I'm really good at it. If anyone has special needs, I highly recommend to come to Special Olympics.
In Pittsburgh at the Family YMCA, Jalen Banks, KOAM News.
This is the first event Special Olympics Kansas has been able to host in almost 3 years. If you take blood pressure medication, listen up. Pfizer is voluntarily recalling its blood pressure drug Accuratech because there's too much of a particular impurity called nitrosamines. In large amounts, they could increase the risk of cancer. The demand for microchips jumped during the pandemic, and production disruptions and supply chain issues made it difficult for suppliers to keep up. Well, now experts want the government to help American manufacturers make more chips. Meg Oliver reports.
How big is this facility?
So this facility is about 420,000 square feet.
Here at GlobalFoundries in upstate New York, everything looks yellow. Special lighting is used to protect the delicate production of microchips. Engineer Christopher Belfi is equipment manager.
How complex is it to make these microchips? They're in everything we use, phones, TVs, cars.
It is extremely complex.
Chips are needed for just about all devices, laptops, home appliances like refrigerators, gaming consoles, and medical equipment. The chips are the brains of devices. The U.S. produces just around 12% of the world's supply, and we've relied heavily on chips produced in Asia. But when the pandemic hit, it shut down major production plants, decreasing supply. There is renewed focus on producing more chips at home, as some experts warn not doing so could also be a national security risk. The House is currently considering the Chips for America Act. That would provide U.S. manufacturers with $52 billion in funding to help boost domestic production.
Why is it so important to manufacture on American soil?
Well, I think it starts first and foremost with security.
Tom Caulfield is the CEO of GlobalFoundries. In addition to upstate New York, they have facilities in Vermont, Germany, and Singapore.
What stage are we at in this chip shortage?
I'd like to be more optimistic and tell you that right around the corner, help's on its way. Just the complexity of technology that it takes years to put capacity on. And I think for the better part of the next 5 to 10 years, we'll be chasing supply in this industry.
Experts estimate the chip shortage cost the U.S. economy around $240 billion last year. A recent report from the Department of Commerce found in 2021, demand for chips were as high as 17% more than in 2019.
Both the House and Senate have passed their own versions of the CHIPS Act, and while there appears to be bipartisan support, there is no agreement yet, so no funding.
A bit later, we're going to learn about a class offered by Joplin's Franklin Technology Center, giving students the tools they need to make their own short film.
Even though we didn't have quite a busy day, we still have quite a bit to talk about, so let's just go ahead and dive right in because our stubborn storm system still taking its time passing on through. But unlike yesterday where we had moderate to heavy pockets of rain, we just dealt with lighter showers for the most part, especially in southwestern parts of Missouri. We'll show you how that panned out in a moment. But as far as temperatures go, lower 60s yesterday, lower 50s from yesterday evening all the way through this morning, and briefly mild, back near 60 for many of you right around the noon hour. Then we went right back into chilly territory as we're getting on the backside of the storm system. But as Doug pointed out the other night, before we had the main cold front push on through, a very weak surface boundary fired off some scattered showers, mainly in southwestern Missouri and northwest Arkansas. Fortunately, not much in the way of thunderstorms with that, because thankfully we didn't have to deal with anything too strong or severe. But the light rain that we did see today left us with about ½ an inch on average, but that's on top of the ½ an inch to 2 inches of rain that we saw from yesterday's waves of moderate to heavy rainfall. But at least now we're dealing with the lighter side of the storm system, but still more moisture rotating on in. Some of that moisture already trying to sneak near the 49 corridor from the Beta all the way down to about the Fidelity exit close to 44. And then we've got more showers working across parts of Kansas and Oklahoma. If you're not seeing much in the way of rain, though, maybe a bit of a drizzly and cloudy look from 7th and Range Line, but 44 and drop with the southwest wind at 11, making it feel like 38. Lower to middle 40s. That's where everyone's pretty much sitting right now. We'll drop back into the mid 30s tonight, which means we may see a few snowflakes try to mix in, but it's not a big deal. And thankfully with the storm system, the bulk of the severe weather with this is staying well to the south and east, where they're still under the gun with some tornado watches affecting parts of southern Alabama. In the upper levels, we just got to wait for this upper level to clear out. But once it does, look at this upper level ridge out west. That will work in and give us a nice reward, a nice weekend rather, as a reward that we'll certainly take. But as temperatures take a dip throughout the course of the night, our scattered showers at times could try to mix in with a few snowflakes, but it's not looking like a big deal. And with temperatures mainly back in the lower 40s tomorrow, it's going to be kind of a cool and raw day, but it's going to be mainly just areas of drizzle and light scattered showers. 36 in the morning, 40 by noon, highs near 42. Let's fast forward to Wednesday night, Thursday morning, another night with lows in the upper 30s. Maybe a few snowflakes trying to mix in. Again, not a big deal. Then we're going to eventually see the rain chances clear out as we go back into the mid 40s at least by Thursday. So not much in the way of heavy additional rain amounts, maybe 1/10 of an inch to ½ an inch. But I want to very quickly show you this upcoming weekend. The jet comes right back on top of the region. We may have to watch for maybe a shower or two for Saturday and Sunday morning. But as long as that jet sits right back on top of us, temperatures will rebound, thankfully. Let's go 42 tomorrow, 47 on Thursday, near 60 Friday and Saturday now, then mid 60s on Sunday and 70s early next week.
Yeah, I'd call that a rebound. A pretty nice one and a nice looking weekend ahead of us.
Yes, it is.
Thanks, Nick. Coming up in sports, we're going to hear from the Pitt State football team as they hit the field for the first time this spring. Plus, Player of the Year honors for Galena senior Brett Sarwinski. Jacob Leonard has that and more up next.
Today is the opening day of spring practice for Pittsburgh State football. The Gorillas have 14 practices scheduled in the next few weeks before playing their annual spring game on April 15th. Pittsburgh State finished 8-3 overall last fall. It was good for 4th in the MIAA. The Gorillas returned 8 offensive guys and 7 on defense who started at least 5 games last season. We're going to talk about the defense. They have All-American linebacker P.J. Sarwinski returning and other great players like All-MIAA selection Zeke Wall, Luke Jennings, Brandon Malikas, and Alex Gaskill, to name a few. But they do lose All-American Dallas Flowers and All-Conference guys Caden Roy and Jordan Hindy. So there will be some big shoes to fill on that side of the ball.
You know, I got guys like Keandre Hall, they're going to step up. I know Nate Woods, a local Pittsburgh guy. I'm fortunate to be with the guys, whoever it's going to be, and we're going to be good.
That's the fun part of having spring practice, is getting to see some of those guys, that next group of guys to step into leadership roles or starting roles, or guys that were freshmen that just showed up last fall, and see them step up and make some plays this spring. So excited to evaluate our whole football team this year in that aspect.
Spring training action today. Cardinals facing the Marlins. Fourth inning here. Paul Goldschmidt drives it to left. One hops over the wall for the ground rule double. Goldschmidt goes 1 for 3 today. Just 2 batters later, Nolan Arenado lifts it to left center, clears the wall for the 2-run home run. St. Louis goes up 3-0 with that. Brendan Donovan would also homer later for the Cards. They win today 4-3. Cardinals now 4-0 to begin spring training. In other spring training action today, Royals facing the Oakland A's. That was all Oakland early. Austin Allen, 2-run home run there, puts them up 3-0. But here comes Kansas City in the 6th. Royals' top prospect, Bobby Witt, hammers a 2-run homer off Austin Pruitt. He goes 1 for 3. Royals rally by the A's tonight, 5-3. Galena's Brett Sarwinski is the Sports in Kansas 3A Boys Basketball Player of the Year. It's the 2nd straight season Sarwinski has earned that honor. Now, the senior guard, he was good all year for the Bulldogs. Sarwinski posted 19.5 points and 7 rebounds per game. He also dished out 4 assists per night. Sarwinski helped Galena make 3 straight appearances in the 3A state tournament, including 2 Final Fours. And he leaves the school as the program's all-time leading scorer. Now here's his coach on what makes Sarwinski one of the best to ever do it for Galena.
He's the kid that's always, ever since, 7th and 8th grade, watching him play, that he always put in the hard work outside of practice. I mean, he'd be up here at night. His dad bring him up to the gym and he'd get extra shots up. He'd stay after practice and get extra shots up. All of that will lead him to be the all-time points leader, to get the respect of the people around the state.
The support around here is just crazy, from the community and everything. It means a lot to me. It really does. When I play the game and people are always behind me, it just helps me stay locked in and know I'm playing for them.
Finally, it's not Pitt State or Missouri Southern, but we're all MIAA fans, right? Northwest Missouri State facing the Bentley Falcons in the Elite 8 today. Northwest rolls 61-43. Trevor Hudgens scores a team-high 24. Northwest now moves on to play in the national semifinals on Thursday against Black Hills State. And that's it for sports. We're back with more news after this.
KOAM is always looking to hear from aspiring journalists, so today we're continuing a program where we air stories shot, written, and edited by local students. Today's story comes from Joplin High School. Reporter Kennedy Dury shows us how the Franklin Technology Center is giving local students a taste of Hollywood filmmaking.
Joplin students are getting a slight taste of Hollywood filmmaking. David Smith teaches the film class at Franklin Technology Center and talks about how this project got started.
I had my film class propose some ideas. Everybody came up with their own idea for a film, just a short synopsis of what their story would be about. We had them pitch those to us in class. We all read them and talked about them, and we came up with one.
A couple weeks were spent crunching the idea to make it perfect. So the million-dollar question is, what did they come up with?
It's actually more of a story about a friendship with a supernatural element to it. A young woman who is very alone. She's just lost her parents, but she loves to paint. She's a wonderful artist, and her whole life she's been painting a particular person. As she has grown from a little girl, this character has grown with her in her paintings. We find that this young girl that she's painted in the picture has come to life.
One of the life lessons taught in this class is teamwork, and a film doesn't happen without it.
We're limited by the number of students that we have, so everybody has to wear a lot of different hats. Everything that we're doing from scratch. So it is quite a massive undertaking, and it's going to take quite a bit of work to get it done.
Not many students have the opportunity in high school to take a film class. Some would have to travel away and take it in college. This class offers a Hollywood experience, but in Joplin.
This is a full story from start to finish, a short film, where we actually work with every student to make them a part of a film crew, like they would actually be if they were working on a Hollywood film or if they were working on an independent film. All of the things that come together to be on a movie set and a movie crew, we're putting them in there. So they will have actual real-world hands-on experience in making a film.
The JHS film class will be working on this short film for the next couple months, so stay tuned for a release date. Reporting for Jet HD, this is Kennedy Dury.
Again, thanks to Joplin High School student Kennedy Dury for that report. Coming up, the Oscars are almost here. We're going to break down the nominees and what critics are saying about them. The Academy Awards are less than a week away, and for those still catching up on those Oscar-nominated Best Picture contenders, we have a look at what to watch and where. Here's Fox's Ashley Dvorkin.
Most Oscars Best Picture nominees are now streaming or on video on demand, including Drive My Car, which tops Rotten Tomatoes Tomato Meter rankings of the category.
It's haunting, it is beautiful, it's a meditation on loss and love. If you don't have HBO Max, it's also available to rent and buy through services like Vudu.
Now, my favorite movie of the year, CODA.
This was the opening night film of the Sundance Film Festival of 2021. And here we are it's a Best Picture frontrunner, and it is a beautiful film. It is also my favorite film of the year. CODA is available on Apple's streaming service, Apple TV+.
Fellow Best Picture frontrunner The Power of the Dog is streaming on Netflix.
Beautiful cinematography, a revisionist Western, great performances across the board.
Following that on the Tomato Meter are West Side Story, which is streaming and on demand. Paul Thomas Anderson's Licorice Pizza is on demand and still in theaters. And King Richard is on demand.
Okay, you're making a mistake, but I'm gonna let you make it. It's a great film about a family persevering, but it's also a great sports movie.
Kenneth Branagh's biopic Belfast is on demand. Sci-fi epic Dune is on HBO Max. That's one place you can find Guillermo del Toro's Nightmare Alley. And rounding out the category, Don't Look Up on Netflix. And while not up for Best Picture, a big blockbuster may win big as fans vote on Twitter.
The fans do have an opportunity for the first time ever to speak their minds at the Oscars. Spider-Man No Way Home, very much in the mix there. However, there are other films too.
In Hollywood, Ashley Dvorkin, Fox News.
And that's our time for tonight. Thanks for joining us. We're going to leave you with video of otters at the Oregon Zoo enjoying some ice. Let's make it a great tomorrow.